It's Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Time to celebrate. Good afternoon, good evening. No, it's not good afternoon, it's good evening, definitely, because it's evening. And thank you once again. This is Family Meeting Legacy Talks. My name, as always, is Busola Shobamimu. I am a life coach and a legacy consultant, helping you find you, do life, and leave your footprints in the sand. And I'm excited today once again because it is Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And as always, I have a brother. I always say that it's family meeting. So when people come up here, it's because there's a connection somewhere. It's either because they're a brother or a sister, but either ways they do not. There's always a connection there. And so I am excited to have my brother here. He doesn't know why he's here, and that's what makes it even more interesting. So I want to say thank you to everyone that's joining us, whether you're watching us live now. If you're live with us, thank you for joining us as always. To our loyals and faithfuls that are always there, thank you so much for always. And to the replay gang, wherever you watch this, we're happy to have you. So thank you once again for joining us this Sunday, Mother's Day. Before we proceed at all, I want to acknowledge a few people in my life. My mothers, I have a lot of mothers. My biological mom, Lady Akintola, Lady Marian Akintola. My spiritual mom, Sister Fumi Aremu, Sister Ireti Oguvu. My Irish mom, Brida Martin. My friends and women in general. It's time again. This month of March is such an awesome month for women. And my brother here has a thing to say on that. So we will be getting down to that shortly. But thank you. I want to thank you for your impact in my life. As we celebrate Mother's Day, all women, all girls, is the time to celebrate you as well. So it's an acknowledgement of, every day is our day. We know now, every day is our day. So
Yeah.
either way,
I agree to that.
Yeah. So I have today my brother. His name is Victory Bassey, as you can see there, from victorybassey.com. So his name is Victory Bassey. And, we come across people in life. Life brings us together for different reasons. The way I met Victory was, could have been just a random event and we would have just walked past each other and nothing else would have happened. But I met him in a class. Coach Muiwa Fashaki, big ups to you. That was your class. We were both in the creative intelligence class, learning to explore the beauties of our world and how we are agents of creativity as well, and what we can do to bring that about in our world. So that's how I met him. But a few weeks ago, if you remember, I had a friend of mine here, and I said she was the girl next door. I described her as the girl next door. Victory here is the boy next door. Victory here as the persona of the boy next door. When we come across people in life, and sometimes they leave a positive impression, sometimes they leave a negative impression, sometimes they leave no impression. I wouldn't say no impression, but probably the very tiny impression that is almost negligible. But when I met him in class, he was engaging, he was intelligent, when somebody you could connect with. And beyond the class, I didn't take the second part of the class. But because I was engaging in class as well, he noticed this lady is not in class again. And he sent a message to say, hope everything is fine. It's just the little things that goes a very long way. And it's not everybody that has it in us. We have it in different ways. But the little things that we do sometimes can make a lifetime impact on people. Just that little gesture made a lasting impression on me that, wow, for him to just even pick up the phone to say, Hope everything is fine. I noticed you're not in the class. He didn't know that I only signed up for the first part of the class because I knew I wouldn't have the time to go in for the second one. But for him to have just done that, I think that's awesome. So I want to say thank you. I probably didn't say you well then. Thank you so much for caring. Thank you for expressing your brand. For me, that's a brand of your legacy. I don't know everything about you, and that's why it's beautiful that I have you here today to discover you, to find out more about you. The little bit I know this is the boy next door, but I will be finding out more about you. But just 1 minute now, Victor. I'm going to see if we have anybody online, just so we acknowledge
Okay,
them. Thank you
sure.
so much. Guys, just give me a minute. We're just going to check on you. Wow, I thought I had my Facebook open. Yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry about this. This happens every Sunday. You think I'll learn?
That that is why it is family meeting. Such things should be expected.
To be
it's
expected.
it's a family meeting, so some things shouldn't be much surprises anymore.
Right.
Yeah, so
Oh,
don't take that hard on yourself.
one is online. Thank you. Let's see who else is there. One says good to see us both. Thank you very much. Three others. Annalisa, thank you. Fleming Olaito, thank you guys for joining us. Peju Ali, thank you very much for joining us. So yeah, one says it's lovely to see you. Remember Wano as well in the class. Do you remember Wano Victory from the class?
Yeah, I do. I perfectly
Yeah.
remember.
So
I perfectly
she's live
remember.
with us now. So
Oh,
so
awesome. Hi, hi.
so thank you, Victory. Now it's time for me to find out. Tell us more about yourself. There's something in your description that says polymath consultant. That grammar is a bit big for me. I don't know what it is. I'm like, well, he'll come in here and explain himself. So tell us, who are you?
Okay, so you want me to just fire on that? Okay. First, I am a polymath. I never knew I was. It was in recent time I got to discover that that is the word that describes my abilities and capacities because I have over the years had a strong affinity for study, for research, for learning through and broad interdisciplinary areas. So you talk about government, you talk about history, talk about sciences, talk about any subject matter that has an industry of itself. I likely have studied to a great extent of that. So in my
Wow.
conversations and in my approach to solving problems, even from the little for our conversations, even in sociology, I'm able to bring this stretch of my consciousness and knowledge in these multidisciplinary areas to my conversations and to solving problems. So it was in recent times I discovered that the word for someone with that ability to have an exposure in multidisciplinary areas,
Mhm.
and bring that to bear in solving problems, in approaching conversations, is a polymath. So that is the
Wow.
first version of what I do. The second is a technology consultant. So I
Okay.
think, yeah, they are not together. The first, the polymath, the second is a tech consultant. So as a technology consultant, what I do is to employ technology solutions to solve business problems.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think, yeah.
I was like, what? I'm like, I'm not going to Google it. It's going to come explain what that is. So we have a bit of yeah, you're back, brilliant. so
Yeah,
so I was like, there's no way I'm going to Google that. I'm just going to find you. You're going to come and explain what that is yourself. So thank you um
sure.
for
Because it's family meeting, I'm going to be real as this can be. So power just went off. So I think
okay,
I need to put on my alternate power. Just give me maybe 30 seconds
no
so
problem
that
at
you can
all.
see my
Thank
face
you.
better. Thank
No
you. All
problem.
right.
Right. Right. That's happy Mother's Day, Wanda. Thank you very much. Good to see us both. Thank you. I didn't get the time to actually wish you happy Mother's Day today. Happy Mother's Day to all in the mothering roles and those supporting mothering in various ways. Thank you. Let's see what we have. Right. Thank you, Wanu. Thank you, everyone that's watching. Like I said, it's Mother's Day. It's exciting. People are celebrating all over. Last year, it wasn't the same thing. It was more of people worrying what's it going to be like. Restaurants closed down, quarantine, Mother's Day. People were like, we can't go out to, because I used to work in the restaurant industry. So Mother's Day is always kind of like really packed with everybody, bringing their mom in for a meal. But last year was the first time that Mother's Day was kind of like indoors, and people were wondering, what's it going to be like? Well, it's still pretty much the same thing, except we're kind of used to the new normal. And just before we went live, I was talking to Victory, and he has a different perspective on women, on the celebration of Mother's Day. Now, I wouldn't say women, I'd say on the way we celebrate Mother's Day. So when he comes back live, we'll be looking into that, and he can share his own insight, I would say, on celebration of Mother's Day. As women, I know for a fact that there's so much to us. There's so much that we take, that we put up with, I don't think we celebrate ourselves enough. We don't celebrate ourselves enough. Thankfully, there's a bigger how do you say, there's a bigger awareness of women groups supporting women groups. So if you're, in business and you're not in any kind of women group, there's loads of them on Facebook. Find one, connect. There's sisters out there supporting sisters and building each other up. Make sure you're connected to one, and you just never know where that will take you to. Thanks for joining us back, Victory. So I was
Thank
just saying
you.
there, yeah, I was saying that you had a different, I won't say different, an insightful perspective on the celebration of Mother's Day. So do you want to tell us about yours?
Okay, yeah. Oh no, of course, I'll gladly do that. All right. So before we came live, we were conversing about not just Mother's Day, but the International Women's Day as well.
Mhm.
And I am firmly of the opinion that um, there are a lot of things that should be a way of life. There are a lot of things that should be our culture, right? I
Mhm.
remember 2 years ago, in fact, one of the ways I was able to come in contact on social media with a lot of John Maxwell team members
Wow.
was a video training I submitted for publication on the Empowered Living Community that's run by the vice president of the John Maxwell team, Paul Martinelli.
Yeah.
And in my video presentation, what I taught on was the connection economy. And I
Okay.
said, people are talking about the fourth, the fifth industrialization. People are talking about the emergence of technology, the emergence of the, what's this thing called now, the gig economy. And I'm like, yeah, all of these are important, but basically the core of what we are transcending. I mean, this was way before even COVID. The
Yeah.
core of what we are transcending into is the connection economy, where we can understand that nothing's going to work, nothing's going to move forward if there is no connection. And connection is not just about being manipulative to get more people in your network. It's about sincerely honoring people, right? And it is because I began to develop that consciousness that by default, like what you stated, when I didn't see a couple of persons in class after a while, I reached out like, hey, is everything okay? Right.
Mhm.
So I believe that in the same thing, talking about women or the female gender, sometimes we are so quick to forget that this category of people are human as anybody or else, right? They're as intelligent as anybody else.
Mhm.
Intelligence doesn't choose gender,
No, it doesn't.
right? So if we give value, recognition, to the male gender, it is something that should be a way of life. And I said it takes a dysfunctional society for us to say we're going to apportion one day to celebrate mothers or women. That tells us that the world is yet to develop the default consciousness that these people deserve honor. So now in our dealings with them every day, whether we meet them in transit, whether we meet them in the office, they deserve our honor, they deserve our respect. But because this doesn't exist, that is what has pre-informed the emergence and existence of a day, you know,
I love that. Keep going.
you know, and when I go online and I see a lot of things people write about the International Women's Day, and I just sit back to reflect, I'm like, okay, how does this translate to forward action for you writing or for the larger community? You know, so this celebration basically, I know in many countries it is used to fight for the female rights, both in the percentage, you know, of women in government and basically a lot of things in education. And I'm like, this is just a mirror that the society is currently dysfunctional. And that is why this is actually existent, because in a society where everything should be working as it is working or should be working, every woman is as intelligent as any other man there should be or there ever is. So why shouldn't we also give them that respect, that recognition? I mean, there are things that shouldn't be a debate, you know, but they exist, and why not? We have to now come under the umbrella of the celebration to make some things happen. But the moment we begin to see that it's not just about the celebration, it's about the consciousness, the prevailing consciousness that our society is living by. Because if we don't fix these things, we'll keep having celebrations and celebrations and celebrations. And you know, this is what has, you know, also geared into existence the feminist movement. Truthfully and rightfully speaking, it shouldn't exist, because I mean, it's about honor. These are humans, it's about honor. So the connection economy, and I am of the firm opinion, I mean, before COVID even had its pangs on the world, I'm of the opinion that we are getting into a sphere, into a moment where the people who are really going to make the most impact in the world are people who honor and recognize that the world needs to move based on connections and no more, you know, just networking or manipulation.
Yeah. Oh wow. Oh wow. Thank you so much. I think I'm just going to check. I think there's a message in there. We don't want to miss any comments if there is one. Okay, no, not at the moment. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for that. And you know what kills me in all of this is the fact that there are a couple of women enablers out there that, you know, they allow society to trample upon them. They you know, when they find other women standing up for the struggle, they'll be thinking, why are you being vocal? Why do you know, like, you know, the suppression, let me say, has got so much to them that they'd rather try and shut the person that's standing up for justice and say, no, you know, you shouldn't be doing that. You're making it worse for us. If you don't stand up to speak your voice, to own your voice, to own your rights, we will never get anywhere. There will never be progress on any level. You know, so that beats me, and I know it's kind of really prevalent in Nigeria, and I don't know about other African countries. I come across some social media posts and I'm like, oh my God, did they really just say that? You know, what do you think of that? What do you think of that?
Yeah, so you know, I totally agree with you, because truly there are battles we shouldn't even fight. In other words, they shouldn't exist in the first place. And because the system has built its existence on this path for many years, decades of years, it is difficult to just wake up one morning. And that is why the work you're doing, the work I'm doing, the work a lot of people are doing, is to begin to infiltrate the system with this consciousness, right? That it is not normal. Like, I mean, I was talking with an author today who gave me his book to look through, and I said, I love what you've written about, because the truth is, if people who have a message, if people who know the right things do not begin to speak about it, our children may come and see so many wrongs and think is the normal or should be the normal. You know, so it is like fighting against the current, but it's a battle we've got to keep fighting, because I have never that. I mean, when you're talking about leadership position, I do not have a gender bias. I believe that whoever has the capacity, whether male or female, I mean, today the whole world is celebrating the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Mrs. Okonjo Iweala, right? This is a proof that intelligence is not exclusive of gender.
Yeah.
And like you rightly said, in this part of the world, Nigeria, it is a lot of battle. I mean, I'm in the educational sector, so I know a lot of things that go on even from the grassroots. Not to talk about, in the homes. I don't think I don't think we'll have the time to dabble into the conversation, but I was in transit the other day, and I was just overhearing two young men talking about, when they get married, the things their wife they are gonna be doing and nothing else. And I'm like, who gave you guys the script? I mean, it was just a conversation I was having with myself. Who gave you guys the script? So there is that consciousness that has limited the genius, the
Yeah.
power of divine expression, and the fullness of intelligence in a woman to some mediocre responsibility. And it's a sad reality. In
It's
more
very
developed
sad.
more developed countries, it is not as reflective as it is in Africa. But it
Mm.
is something that we have to keep talking about. It is something that we have to keep, because I believe that by the time we begin to, on our different levels of influence, begin to give people this understanding,
Yeah.
and not just talk about it, but I mean, we're having a conversation. You invited me here. What if I said, it's a woman? What am I going to do? I don't know where people get the script from, right? But here in Africa, I mean, let's just for a moment talk about it. When you hear someone say a woman cannot be a president, and I'm like, why not? What exactly is about the physiology or the intellect of a woman that cripples her ability to be the lead director of the affairs of a community or a nation?
Mm.
And I'm happy
Okay.
that things are unfolding the way they are, especially now that we have, a reference point, Mrs. Okonjo Iweala, to say, okay, this is a woman in one of the most powerful organizations in the world. So I think a lot of people's perception will begin to break forth, because
Change.
what people need to see is no more just the statements, because they're like, leave these people. They always say, no, no, no.
Mm.
As they begin to see things happening as they are, I think it will begin to break down these limiting barriers and ideologies.
And that's exactly what it is, limiting barriers. You know,
Yeah.
now I'm big on values, and I'm positive. We haven't discussed it, but I'm 100% positive. You're big on values as well. What are
Yeah,
the
true. Very true. Very
yeah,
true.
what would you say are your core values? What would you say are your core values? And I want to see, what values do you think can bring transformation in a society?
Number one, my number one value is, I think long term.
Okay.
Every decision I take, I think, and when I mean long term, I'm not just thinking 6 months. I'm thinking the next. As a matter of fact, I have a number of leadership positions I'm currently, overseeing and wielding, and I keep telling people whenever I get into conversations in those circles that the first day I get into any leadership position, the next thing I think about is my transition plan.
Hmm.
I'm thinking about what exactly can I put in place to make sure this system does excellently even in my absence.
Wow.
And because I think long term, it gives me a whole different perspective and approach to my decision making.
Hmm.
And 98% of the problems you will see in the community, in the society, or in leadership is because we are not thinking long term, right? We don't think about what happens 10 years after I'm out of here. Am I building the systems that can strengthen the longevity and the
Hmm.
success of this organization or this community?
Hmm.
Or even in a friendship, even in a relationship.
Hmm.
I mean, it's sad. Even when people make most financial poor decisions, if you look closely, it's because there is that gap of no long-term thinking.
Hmm.
I was coaching someone a couple of days back about not just business, but the person's life and purpose journey. And I
Hmm.
said it's not a sprint. Clarity doesn't happen in an instance, it is a
Hmm.
journey.
Takes time.
So, in
Yeah.
the same way, by the time we come to the realization that everything that we're going to accomplish is going to be a journey, I mean, if you want to talk about people who are, going against the morals and values of the home, where you see maybe someone is what's the word now? I don't want to use the word cheating, but
It's
but in a case, yeah, let's say it as it is, where maybe someone is being insincere to his family in whatever level, whether sexually, whether financially, is because the person is not thinking long term. So my values, and I think one of the values that will help society is number one, we've got to think long term. And number two, I am big on it's not just about me. Right. So everything I mean, earlier before we came on live, I was discussing with you that for the last couple of days, I've just been thinking, what exactly are we going to be talking about? And the reason you are here doing this weeks before I am even here, joining you in this conversation, is because the work we're doing is not about us.
Yeah.
Leadership, excuse me, leadership and success in any circle has never been about the individual.
No.
I will be quick to reference the late the late Nelson Mandela, talk about the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Everybody that has ever transcended the limits of his life period of existence is that he's been able to wield that level of transformation. It was never about them. In whatever circle, it was never about them. I mean, even entertainers, they are the superstars, but they entertain in a way that it's got to please people. Right. So if we begin to have the consciousness that the work we do, I mean, I love to put it this way, it is about ambition and a vision. When you pursue a vision, automatically it creates an ambition for you that is not selfish. But you can never run after an ambition, a selfish purpose, and end up with a vision. So my number one value is I'm big on long-term thinking, planning, and action. Number two, I am big on doing things that is not about me. It's about what happens when I'm not here. Can we place the system to work in my absence? And number three, I'm big on vision. I mean, if anybody comes to me and say, okay, let's do this, the first question I ask is, why do you want to do this? Why does this matter? I'm big on vision and the why. The how is, I keep telling people, how is simple. I mean, I'm a technology consultant. I know technological tools that can make things happen. The how is simple, right? It is the why, because, someone met me earlier last week and said, I want to learn a new skill, but I don't know which. And I told the person, whatever skill you end up wanting to learn, I can guarantee that you will get to points where you want to quit. You want to give up.
There's no reason.
However, if you start with why this is important for you, is it part of your bigger vision? When you get to that learning curve that is complex, depressing, that is too heavy a burden to take on, when you remember the vision and why you started in the first instance, you're going to scale through. So I have a couple of values. Excuse me. Let me just take my water.
That's planned. You know what? I just knew. So when something in your bones tells you it's going to be fine. I have not been disappointed. Thank you so much. I'm learning so much. I'm learning a lot. I love your perspective. It's like bringing fresh light and fresh fire to what I know and what I don't know. Do you know what I mean? So I'm appreciative and grateful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Thank you. One more, if I don't add so many more, one more I cannot ignore adding there is integrity. Sometime in 2008, because I write, of course, I'm a writing and book publishing coach. I decided I just something just dawned on me one morning. I was like, Victory, writing is not just an activity. If truly you have realized and come to the consciousness, I mean, I was just talking to myself, if truly, you have realized and come to the consciousness that writing is it for you, then it should be a way of life. So I told myself I was going to write every day for as long as I can take it. And I think I did that for about 4 months.
Wait,
I was setting up graphic.
When you say write every day, what do you mean write every day?
I was publishing a post every day.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll do a graphic design, right? And write probably 300 words, sometimes fewer, 150 words, and post. I did that for about 4 months, right? And one of those days, I remember one of the things I wrote, I said, trust is like a glass. Once broken, You may be able to patch it a little bit, but it cannot retain its original form, that particular glass. So I'm very big on integrity, very big on integrity, because, I keep telling people how I do things is I'm either going to do it well or I won't start off to do it at all. So if someone says, Victory, can we partner on doing this? I'm either going to put my all to it or I'm not going to partake or start off. So I'm big on integrity to the fact that, if I say one thing 12 a.m. 1st of January 2021, if I've got to be saying something 31st January 2023 to you based on that same issue, it is not because what I said earlier was a lie, but it should because the circumstances have changed and I'll take you through the journey. So my life is as transparent wherever, whenever, and whatever day we get to go back to a conversation. I mean, a lot of quotes have been stated about integrity, about truthfulness, and I'm big on that because, back to the conversation of the connection economy, talent is good. I know I'm multi-talented. I mean, when we started with some music, and I said, since you love music, I play 3 instruments.
Oh, wow.
I sing sometimes. But I don't dance so often, right?
Do it.
So I love music,
Right.
and all through the curve of the many things I love to do, I just realized that whenever you want to do a thing, talent is important. But talent won't keep you in some circles. I mean, it wasn't my talent, my speaking proficiency, or my intelligence that got me our conversation today. Right? It was, and integrity is not even about being trustworthy. Integrity, it's not even about, having high personal standards. I see integrity as honoring people in the measure you honor yourself. Because any gifts we can give ourselves but not give others, we are not yet there yet.
And reason why what you did meant a lot to me more as well is I'm not like that. I appreciate it in people, but I know the things that I am good at, and I know the things that I need to work on. That is very definitely I'm not very good at keeping in touch. Those people that will be when we see today, we will connect to the last T. Nothing will happen until we see again, and we'll take it from, and nothing will change. That's the kind of person. Yeah, that's the kind of person I am. Whether I see you or I don't see you, I believe good is happening to you. I believe, occasionally I might feel, I'll get a prompting. If I get your name beeping on my heart like 3-4 times, I can pick up and like, what's up? But other than that, so it meant a lot because it wasn't like we had a one-to-one know each other kind of thing in the class. Muiwa is online now. Muiwa said, Victory, you're doing good.
Good to have you here, Coach Muiwa.
Eniola, hi, Eniola, thank you for joining us. Eniola says, intelligence is not specific of gender. You are so good and sound. I knew he's my friend, though. Thank you, you are fantastic. You are indeed a leader. If you're not there, things must not stop. Definitely. Thank you, Eniola. Thank you so much. And Eniola is on. She's online with us. She's not. Not in the studio or whatever. But it's a kind of character trait that I find in people around me. This woman, I'm going to mention this, Eniola. I know you are listening. This woman came to my house she just kept asking me, what time are you picking your son? What time are you leaving the house? That morning was one of my blue mornings. I wasn't feeling myself, and there was no reason why I shouldn't. I should be grateful, but I was in such a reflective mode. And next thing she came was my birthday, and she came and she brought, I just had on the door. I'm like, who is that? Why is postman knocking so violently? And then I saw someone run back. She had brought this big pot of big bowl of fried rice and grilled fish and baked the cake.
Wow.
And then I'm like, Also,
Wow.
when I was sick as well, she kept cooking for me. Eniela, thank you. I acknowledge you. Thank you once more for everything that you do. She's a natural nurturer. So yeah, see another friend though, not friend, is my brother. We've talked about, and when you did mention long-term planning, this is the first time I have to say that I would find anyone say anything like that when they're talking about core values. I've never heard anyone, but so it's giving me a fresh perspective on that as well. So I'm so happy when I have people like you come up and share your experiences, share your insights, and educate and enlighten us more. So there are two questions. What is your core value? And the second one is the one that can restructure a country like ours. What kind of values do you think should be topmost when we're thinking about restructuring a country like ours?
Number one, I'll still go back to long-term selfless thinking.
Mhm.
As a parent, let me take it from that point. As a parent, everything you're doing
Mhm.
for the childhood to the teenage years of your child or children is a seed because you won't be with them forever.
Sure.
At some point, they're going to leave home, and it is the multiplicity of thought processes. It is the multiplicity of experiences. It is the multiplicity of the kind of conversations they have engaged with that will inform their consciousness of how they think the world should be. And that happens mostly at home.
Mhm.
Now, as a parent, when you begin to think about your children at 30 years, your children at 40 years, it will inform how you raise them up. In the same vein, I mean, let me take it to another example. I was talking with a youth, a female youth for the matter, and the person was sharing me about the many struggles she's having, about sexual purity and everything. And asked her one question. I said, let's assume you really want to go ahead with your desire to, jump around, play around with your body with as many people as possible. 30 years, 40 years from today, when you're standing on the stage, probably to speak or to get an award or something, is that the conversation you will love people at the pew to be having about you? I mean, it may not make sense to a lot of people, but that's how I think. So, in terms of restructuring Nigeria, the only way Nigeria, I mean, it's got to be about selfless long term thinking because when people get into office, they are thinking about number one, themselves. Number two, how to maximize their personal gains through the national resources. But if we are thinking about the state of our children's education 30 years from today, if we are thinking about the workspace of the teeming youths and graduates in our country 30, 40 years from today, I mean, it's not news that many of our governors are empowering youths with shovels and wheelbarrows. Yet their contemporaries in developed countries are talking about space explorations.
I mean,
So if we begin to get leaders that can think long term and act long term in the interest of the future, our priorities are going to change. How we allocate our budget is going to change. And first of all, how do we begin to get those leaders? I'm a big supporter of the ideology and thought that everything we've got to build in society has to start from the home.
mm,
The home is one of the firmest institutions there is in society, anywhere, any day, anytime.
yeah.
By the time we begin to do that on a more conscious level, yes, it's going to be a war, but by the time we begin to do that, build that consciousness in the family, from the family, we are beginning to get a different breed of people, a different breed of people. And that is why it's not just about family. It also goes to the next level where we've got to take responsibility as individuals to begin to put on institutions. I mean, what you're doing here, in a sense, is an institution by itself because you're doing education, you're doing enlightenment, you're doing sensitization. So once there is no counter conversation to what is already perceived as the norm,
Mm,
it will continue existing. But once things like this begin to go on in psychology, there's what it's called an identity crisis. and cognitive dissonance. Right. So people who are experiencing cognitive dissonance is a psychological term that explains that people experience what they are seeing on the outside. It's having a clash of reality with what they have on their inside. I think in 2018 or 19, I began to teach on realities, that what we call reality is an adopted experience. So I believe that there are two forms of realities, the internal reality and the external reality. So what is going on in the society is an external reality. But what goes on inside of us is an internal reality. So by the time a child who comes up in a home where conversations like this is being held, where these things are being discussed, the child comes up with a certain way of thinking and perception. So he has built a particular strength of internal reality. So he comes to a greater, openness of the world and society where things are happening differently.
Yeah.
I experienced it, and I know that everybody who grew up in a home where you are thinking and taught to think and act differently, where you're taught the morals and values of integrity, of trustworthiness, truthfulness, of honesty, you come to a society where the direct opposite is the norm, you begin to experience a cognitive dissonance. So what is happening without cannot come to par in terms of what's happening inside of you. Right. So that also now births identity crisis, because you're trying to find your footing in life and at the same time trying to find your footing in society. Right. But why that is important is because if that is non-existent, we will just dive into the wrong ideologies in the society and say this is the norm. Okay. But that cognitive dissonance, that identity crisis now produces a journey to clarity. And that is where coaches come in to begin to help people say, this is the confusion. Yeah, this is the confusion, the cobwebs of mind thoughts you're having. This is how you can navigate your path. And that is why you've got people who are exceptional, even in a country like ours that does not, support good at its prime by default. So we need the home to begin to do this. It's going to be a long-term fight, no doubt. Nigeria is not going to change. It's not going to change in 1 week or 1 month. But by the time we continue to do this, after a while, the ratio of people who believe wrong is okay to the people who believe a better reality is possible, once that ratio outweighs this other ratio, we're going to win the battle. So I think that is one of the ways we can restructure this country.
Thank you so much. That's just an affirmation and an encouragement for anyone out there. And I'm calling out to coaches now, for anyone out there that you're putting out your good in the world. Don't be discouraged. Transformation is happening. You may not feel it. One person is hearing, it's changing. So just be persistent. Don't be weary in doing good. Let's just keep at it.
That's right.
And hopefully, it'll take time, like I said, and I 100% agree with him on that, because I find myself bringing Nigeria into question a lot of times when I'm on this event, and it's because by default, I'm a Nigerian. So home is always going to be home. And when home is not settled, none of the kids in the house can be settled. So irrespective of where we are in the world, we're thinking about legacy, what brought us outside of home. If home was good, we wouldn't be living. But there's so many Nigerians out there that are putting their good into different societies, So it shouldn't be like that. And there's so many Nigerians back home still trying to transform society, still trying to not giving up on the dream, not giving up, because really it's such an amazing country, so beautiful, so good, and so destructive at the same time. But we're not going to focus on the bad. We're going to keep working at the good, irrespective. And the more good we cultivate, if we get tired of the good, that's where the break in the system is going to happen. We keep going. Victory has been amazing. I knew it would be able to. I couldn't touch it. I couldn't place my hand on it, but I just knew it was going to be good. Thank you so much. We're not quite done yet. I'm just going to see again. So we're not leaving anyone behind. Um, Fantastic. And Ella says fantastic. Your idea, the leader. If you're not there, things must. I read that before, didn't I? Trust like a glass. One broken, it cannot be back to its original state. Somebody's taking something away with your glass. A glass analogy.
Awesome,
Toyo
awesome.
Yebade, Toyo, thank you for joining us. Toyo said, well said. Absolutely. We've just been blown away with this, and I'm really, really glad that he came. Um, when you're talking about nurturing, talking about so many things I was going to shout out to those that are in the parenting world that here,
Yeah,
it all starts from the home.
yeah,
I
yeah,
attend a couple of parenting seminars as well. So, and they're always preaching the same thing. So, parents out there, mothers out there, it's Mother's Day. Please, the task is in our hands. We have to do it right from home before they go out. I remember when my daughter was 17 and she went to uni. And some people were asking me, they were like, "Are you not afraid, like, that she left home that early?" And I'm thinking, no, I was quite at peace, because we have a friendly relationship. She's my best friend. We talk a lot, you know. And as far as I'm concerned, I've given you the tools while you were with me. So all I can do now is keep praying and keep guiding you. You're going to get to
yeah,
that age where you're not going to talk to me because you're going to take your own decisions. And that's why for parents, some parents find it hard to cut the strings. But we left home.
yeah.
We cut strings, we left home. So why should we keep dragging them back? They have to
Mhm.
find their own truth in societies. Mother's Day, nuggets for you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And if just like what we're saying, if we begin to really realize that, I mean, just the other day, I just sat back and I asked someone, I said, when I see a lot of young people get sick about, wanting to get married, it's like something that is giving them sleepless nights. The first question I ask them is, have you thought about what it takes to raise one human being? So it was those train of thoughts that began to make me realize that, you see, mothers got to be honored every day, anytime, any day. It's a lot of work. Yeah, fathers do their part, but there is this affinity from the womb that a mother begins to go with the child. So when I'm talking about the necessity to pay honor, not just talking about international or the world Mother's Day, but that necessity to have that consciousness in our society, it is from those thoughts, because the bulk of the work goes back to them. Right. I mean, in Nigeria, I don't know if it's global, there's that adage: if the child is good, it's the father; if the child is bad, the mother spoils him. I don't know where they got that from, but it just mirrors that there is that responsibility that have been accorded to mothers, and that is why I believe mothers deserve to be honored any day, anytime, any moment.
And thank you once again for saying that. I'm putting this out again because it's Mother's Day. I'm putting it out again. Mothers, we have the responsibility. Not that the fathers will not play their role, but we
Yeah,
have the responsibility to raise well-rounded kids. Whether it's a boy, whether
yeah,
it's a girl, there should be no gender bias, irrespective. Your boys should learn to cook and wash plates. They should know how to wash toilet and wash bathroom and
that's right.
they should know how to cook, not
That's
just
right.
Indomie. Let them learn to cook. Let them know. You're giving them what's it called, skills for life. When they go away,
Yes.
when they leave you, before they get married, before they find that girl, it's either they're going to be feeding on takeaway or they're going to be sponging off other people's food. That's not what you want. That's not the kind of child you want. You want well-rounded
Yeah.
kids that will be supportive, even when they have their homes. They will play their role as a partner in
Yeah.
the home, not just waiting and, woman, where's my food? I beg. Woman, where's my food?
I think in my study of history, I know where that came from. I have a very strong affinity for history. I love it. I mean, I've read the history of Nigeria, the history of the US. I mean, I just love history for some reason. So, and just about 100 years ago, maybe 150 years ago, the norm, especially in Africa, was the mother was the home nurturer
Mm.
while the man went out to do the work and generate the funds. But as we went through the realms and levels of industrialization from the first industrialization era to the second, the third, and the fourth, I hear now we're getting into the fifth, if we are not already there, the concept began to change. So a mother was no more the person who is home all day doing the work. Now we have the working class women, right? And that is why when a lot of men in some circles could not come to the consciousness of the necessity of that reality, it now birthed the feminism movement, right? So we now have women who need to go out and work.
Mm.
And I am okay with that because, I mean, it is nowhere written in any of the holy books, in any of the religions, right, that intelligence was bestowed on the male gender by the divine and the women excluded. I don't think it's any in any of the holy books, right? Be it the Bible, the Quran, or whatever, right? So if these people have the intellectual prowess, I mean, even science has proved that the greater percentage of a child's intellect is from the mother,
Oh wow, I
right?
didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, scientifically proven. So if you see an intelligent child, you've got to check who is his mother or her mother. I'm not
Wow.
kidding you. Yeah, so the women began to come into society to do work,
Mm.
and the conversation did not change. So the
Oh,
time
wow.
they were home, doing the work, the men went to the farms, came back with the produce, gave
Yeah,
them to prepare the meals. The
yeah.
conversation, the reality changed, but the conversation did not change. So I think that is where we miss the gap. I mean, through the annals of history, whether it's about the premium value placed on the black race, just last month,
Mm.
February, yeah, February was the Black History Month in the
Yeah,
US and I think in Europe. So even in the annals of history, a lot of realities change, but the conversation never changed with it because a lot of human civilization was built by black people. It's all recorded in history.
yeah.
But people don't go back to do the work. A lot of misconstrued ideas and conversations become established that are not the norm for the day. So I think based on the father and the mother who is supposed to cook or wash the plate, that the conversation
Conversation.
did not change, though the reality changed. And I
Roles
think it's
change.
something, yeah, the roles changed, the roles adjusted. So if we begin to, I don't know, I don't even want to get there because, it's in 2015, I started a movement for the girl child.
Right.
Yeah, so when it comes to talking about the female folks, something in me just clicks and I just get off on the conversation. So I don't want to jump all right into that. But a lot of things need to be adjusted, honestly. I mean, we are not saying women shouldn't cook, of course, but we
Absolutely.
are saying it shouldn't be turned to a form of slavery
Mm.
because in some circles it actually happens like slavery.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, there's just too much that has to change. There's just way too much that has to change. And
Mhm,
because staying
mhm.
at home, not working as well sometimes, gives that financial dependency on the man, and then the man feels like, what value are you bringing to the table? You forget that even while she's at home, all the things she's doing is value as well that's not assessed. So you just think the value is just about the financial figure. No, there's more to value than
Yeah.
money. There's what we're doing here, we're adding value. There's no monetary exchange, but however, it is
Yeah.
value. So there's value the woman is bringing to the if she had to go to work and you had to pay for somebody to do your cleaning, to do all of that, then you know that you literally got away with a lot of things, so women need to reevaluate their own situation. If you're going to be a stay-at-home mom, what evaluate the value you're bringing to the table. If you're going to work, what value are you bringing to the men? Need to you know do more around the house as well. If you're both working parents, talk about it, reach a compromise. Every home at the end of the day, because it's Mother's Day, I want us to bear this in mind. Every home is different. Don't,
That's right.
because of the conversation we're having here today, you go and carry matter, say village people are after you. No village people in this one. you know,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
every home is different. So is
True.
the understanding that you have, the kind of conversation you have in your home, that will dictate how you
Yeah.
run your home. Last,
Yeah.
women, the success, and irrespective of whatever dynamics you have in your home, the success of that home lies with us. That's my belief. You may disagree with me. Lies with us in in how assertive we are, in the self-respect we accord to ourselves, in the self-worth we accord to ourselves, in the way, the self-esteem that we have, and how it radiates. So we need to, think about all those things, because these are the same values that you're passing on to your children.
Yeah.
And if they don't have respect in themselves, they will allow anybody to treat them anyhow. That's not what you want. We are parents.
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
want our girls to be respected. We want our boys to be honored as well. I wrote a piece. Somebody, some video that I watched just triggered me. I'm like, you know. But the bottom line is, man of the house is a title. Man of the house is a title, but that title is not because you are lording it over. It's because you are actually bringing value to the woman and to the home, to your children. It's because you're bringing value, added value, to help them to be the best version of themselves. Not because you can
Yeah.
crack the whip, or you can make noise, or you can make the loudest. No, it's not. You get the respect, but it's not earned. Trust me, they're giving it to you because you're a bully. That's not what you want.
Yeah.
So, Victory, well, it's been, I can't say thank you enough. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for um, not keeping your message in the inside of you. Thank you for putting out in books. Thank you for putting it out in videos. Thank you for taking your message out there to the world. And I'm glad that you said yes to this platform, so that we could learn a thing or two of you as well. I am indeed grateful. And thank you for being my brother. You're adopted though.
Thank you. I've already signed the adoption letter.
So if you have anything, if people want to contact you, or on anything that you do, where can they reach you?
it's it's difficult to ask a polymath that question because there are so many angles to my
Anyway,
expressions. There are so many angles to my expression, so it depends on what people want to meet me for. But my personal brand and the work I do personally,
mhm,
one of my cores is teaching about leadership, you know leadership primarily, and that is what I do on my personal website, that is victorybassey.com.
mhm,
I also have a company I started, Book to Readers, book then to, not to, but to readers.com. So what I do at book2readers.com is to connect people to ideas. So it works in this way: we help authors publish, write and publish their books, and we help readers, find materials and books that is guaranteed to help their growth and productivity.
wow.
So one of the primary challenges I had when I wanted to start Book to Readers, my for-profit company, was asking myself, there are a lot of organizations out there doing amazing things. I mean, we all know Amazon, Kobo Books, in Nigeria you have books, but then the difference, I'm marketplace. I am building an ecosystem, a community. So it is guaranteed that whatever book will be giving our backing in my company through digital publishing and hard publishing, whatever book you're going to find that is guaranteed to be a book of high value and global standards. Right?
Hmm.
I mean, on some platforms, those rules and those guidelines are not so stringent. But like I said, I'm always big on long term thinking and on visioning. And I didn't mention this, but I'm also big on purpose. having a life of purpose and intention, So in terms of book to readers, I want to build a safe place where people know that with the chaos, commotion, and confusion and wrong ideologies, people don't know what to think anymore. Where can I get something that can be my guiding compass? Book to readers should be home for you.
Right. So it's book
So
two.
we help authors. Yeah, book to readers, BOOK, then to readers.com. So we guide authors through their writing and publishing process, and basically help them publish their books as well.
Thank you so much.
We have courses. Yeah, we just have amazing. Before I think you're trying to give me the appreciation sex segment now, but I just want to say that it takes someone, you know, with the values I've mentioned to be able to recognize. I was talking to someone yesterday, and I said it's possible for you to meet amazing people, but not recognize you have met them, because a lot of amazing people are not loud.
Mm,
Right? In our society today, the people who are allowed the most are not people with the most premium value, right? So for you to identify, and adopt me into the family was genius on your part. Was genius. I mean, from your webinar, your webinar on ask learning to ask for help. Maybe you don't know, but I can see that one of your superpowers is being able to see what is not said. I mean, what I did was just a greeting, right? But like you said, you cannot place your hand on it, but there was something there. So that's one of your superpowers, being able to identify. I love to call them change makers, right? Change makers and leaders in their own rights at whatever level and capacity. And I think that you also deserve recognition for the amazing work you're doing. And yeah, it's really important. It's not easy to find a goldfish in a stream or a river filled with a lot of other fishes. So for you to be able to identify, I mean, when you sent me the couple of flyers for previous sessions you've had, I was like, man, this is something. So yeah, I've got to applaud you too.
thank you very much, Victory. Thank you so much. Before we finish, it's 2 minutes past 7. But before we finish, I just want to say at the top of this video, there's a little introduction there, and there's a link there. It's my thank you. It's Mother's Day gift. There's a checklist that you can look into to how do you say? It's a checklist for your bedtime checklist. Because a lot of people, they make preparations for daytime. You plan your day, but you don't plan your bedtime. So I have a little present for everyone that's going to be watching this. Click on that and just it's yours to look into. And I hope you will adopt it, because it will cut short your time, and it will extend your legacy. That's all I'm about. So thank you very much for joining us today. Victory, once again, thank you. Looking forward to connecting beyond this with family.
Thank you, thank you,
Same
thank you,
time.
and yeah, kudos to everyone who joined us
Thank you.
today.
Mika,
I
thank
believe
you.
we had a great time.
We did, yeah. Thank you. Miwa, thank you. I saw your message there. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eniola, Bonu, Toyin. Thank you for those of you that joined us. And the replay gang, thank you as well. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right.